What's up everybody, Zach Evans here again, and today I'm going to teach you exactly how to play Don't Stop Believin', and more importantly, I'm going to teach you how to get it hands together and the progression you want to go through, because it's a much more detailed progression than most people think, and you can use this same progression to get any song hands together once you learn this one. Alright, so the end result is going to sound something like this. And then it just repeats. All right, I'm all ready to go. Let's get started. All right, so before we get started, I want to make one thing clear. This song is what I like to call a level up song, because this song will push you, it will challenge you, because it has a couple tricky things. It has a syncopated left hand, it has 3-note chords in the right hand, and not only chords, but they're doing a pattern with the chords, which makes it even more challenging. This is one of those songs, if you can learn it, it will level up your piano playing ability, and a lot of songs that used to be challenging for you are going to become easy. But that being said, it's going to require work. You're going to have to put in that grind. You're going to have to say, I don't care if it takes a full week. I don't care if because you might have to constantly come back to this video and repeat the steps that I say, but once you learn it, this will level up. I'm telling you, will level up your piano playing ability. So that being said, it's going to be challenging. I hope you're up for it. I really hope you watch the whole video and you make it through, you actually learn this song. All right, I'm ready to go. Let's get started. So first things first, a big mistake people make when they're trying to get hands together is they don't have hands separate rock solid first. You want to always practice hands separate first. So we're going to start off with the left hand, because another mistake people make is they usually start with the right hand because it's easier. We don't want to start with the easy part. We want to start with the hard part first while we have more energy and focus and concentration. All right, so let's do left hand. We're going to use chunking, which means breaking it up into small chunks and then adding those chunks up to make bigger chunks. This is a strategy you want to be using all the time when you're practicing. So here's how it's going to sound. First chunk is just this. 2 and 1 and 2 and. So your fingers are going to be 5, 5, 4, 3, 1. And you're just going to practice that slowly and perfectly 4 times. So pause the video and just go and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Do that 4 times. All right, you're back. Next step is the next chunk, which is just a simple. That's it. Pause the video, practice that 4 times. All right, now you're back. Next chunk is going to be 2, 1, 5. So you're just going to practice that 4 times. Over and over. Okay, once you have that, next step is this. So it's 2, 1, 5. 2, 1, 5. Practice that 4 times. By the way, I just want to say, if you're watching this video and you're not stopping and practicing, I don't want to lecture you. I don't want to be that guy, but you're not going to gain anything unless you actually pause the video and actually work through the steps. Otherwise, you're just watching the video. So make sure you really actually pause the video and actually go through the steps that I'm telling you. All right, so now we've done small chunks. Now we're going to increase the size of our chunks. So it's going to sound like this. The first chunk is now going to be longer. It's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That was the longer chunk, a little more to focus on. So try that 4 times. I'll do it one more time for you. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's the next chunk. Practice that 4 times. All right, now you're back. The next chunk is going to be this. And 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Right, so it's just going to be dun, 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 dun. Pause the video, practice that 4 times. Next chunk is just this. So it's going to be the next part. And 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. pause the video, practice that again. All right, now even if you don't have that perfectly rock solid, we're gonna move on to the right hand, give your brain a little rest from that pattern, and then if you still need to practice more, you're gonna go back to the left hand. So now right hand part. So this is the right hand, it's a lot of chords, but they're really not that complicated once you actually know them. So the first chord, a B, an E, and a B up here. So when we practice, we're not gonna start off practicing, because that's too confusing for now. We're just gonna practice the chord. Boom. That's the first chord. Second chord is exactly the same. You just switch your pointer finger to the middle finger on the F sharp. So all I want you to do is practice moving between those chords. So all it's gonna be is over and over, just drill that muscle memory in, baby. And this is a practice strategy called practicing in chords. And you'll use it all the time whenever you have more advanced 3-note, 4-note chord structures. Okay, so the first two chords, pause the video, practice that over and over. Next two chords, and actually it just goes back from here to here. So we don't have to really practice to get, because you already practice alternating this back and forth. So the next set is good. And then the last one, this stays the same, but you drop your thumb and your pinky down to an A. So just practice going up with your thumb and pinky, then down, up, down. Pause the video, practice that a bunch of times. All right, now that we have the small chunks, let's do a big chunk. So it's gonna be first this chord, then you're gonna move your pointer up, pointer back down, thumb and pinky down, thumb and pinky back up, pointer up, pointer down, thumb and pinky down. You're gonna practice this over and over. Boom, boom, boom. It's gonna be tricky at first, but once you do it over and over, it'll start to get, easier and easier. So pause the video, practice that a bunch of times. All right, now what I want you to do is go back to the left hand part. Before we move on with the right hand part, the left hand part's a little trickier, so I want you to go back to the left hand part. If you have to rewind this video and watch it again, rewind the video, watch it again, and watch that left hand part again, and practice each chunk 4 times to even drill it even further. Pause the video and do that now. All right, and we're back. So now that you've got the left hand even more solidified, now the right hand we're gonna work on the rolls. So it's the exact same notes, just B, E, and B, but all we do is play these two, B, we just alternate them. So pause the video, practice that, and the next step, we're gonna do this one. But with a ring or a middle finger, so. Just pause the video, practice that over and over, and then practice the last chord, which remember we're moving our thumb down and our pinky down. Pause the video, just rep that over and over. All right, now that we're back, we're gonna put those together. So this is gonna be, we wanna again practice it in chunks. So remember it goes like this chord, and then this chord, back down, and then down again. So the chunks that are gonna be hard are the transitions. So when we go, dun, 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 and we have to move up to this chord. So how we practice this is we just practice 1, 2, 3. Just those 3 notes, just the transition. So pause the video, practice that over and over. And then you want to do a little more notes than that. So you add 1 note. So now it's, practice that over and over, pause the video. All right, and now we're gonna add even 2 more notes onto the end. So it's gonna be, once you have that down, let's try putting the whole thing so it sounds like this. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Practice that over and over. Once you got that, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And now it's easy, it just goes back down to this. We've already practiced repeating that. So now we just have to get from here to here. So again, we're gonna do 3 notes. We're just gonna do we're gonna do a dun, dun. Just like that. 1, 2, 3. So your pinky's gonna move down. That's the only thing that changes. So practice that over and over. Just like that. And then once you're done practicing that, so really, I don't want to stand up my soapbox, but this whole video, it's kind of a long video, but it's gonna be super long for you because you're practicing all these steps. So make sure you really pause the video and practice these. All right, so once we have pretty good, now we're gonna do, and move down to that A. Practice that over and over. And then we're gonna add more notes to the end of it. So it's gonna be, all right, once you have that solid, again, I'm gonna say go back to the left hand, run those chunks again with the left hand. This is what I mean by getting it rock solid instead of just like, okay, learn, you know? So go back to the left hand, run that left hand thing again. Once you're done with that, we're gonna go back to the right hand again. So it's gonna sound, now right hand, we're gonna try to put everything together. So it's gonna sound like this. 2, 3, 4, to the third finger. 2, 3, 4, back to pointer. 1, 2, and we're gonna move the pinky and the thumb down for this last one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Try to get that whole sequence together. If you don't have it together, you might have to go back and practice the chunks again. And if you're a beginner, honestly, this might be good enough for today. You might have to sleep on it, come back tomorrow, and then work to get the full sequence. Sometimes you just have to sleep on it. Like I said, this is kind of more of an intermediate one. But make sure you get left hand and right hand solid before we move on to this next part, which is the getting hands together section. All right, so for getting hands together, the key is to practice in very small steps. Now, some of these steps might be so small, you're like, Zach, this is freaking easy. I already have both parts, rock solid, hand separate. Why are we moving so slow? But I want to move as slow as possible so you can understand exactly how it works and to make sure I'm not leaving anybody behind. All right, so first thing you're going to want to do is right hand, we're just going to tap on our leg. And left hand, we're going to actually play the left hand part. So right, start tapping. And we're going to work that chunk just with tapping. And then again, the next chunk. Practice that until you can get it with tapping. Because the thing is, if you can't even tap and play, do you think you're going to be able to do all these complicated notes if you can't even tap your leg and play? It's not going to work. So we're just doing small chunks. Then the next chunk. Practice that a bunch. Over and over. Next chunk. Boom. Now we're going to try to put a couple chunks together, again, just tapping the leg. So it's going to sound like this. Do that over and over. Then we're going to do the next two chunks. So we're going to do that's the next chunk. Do that over and over. And then we're going to do the final two chunks, which is and then it just repeats. Now, this might be challenging for you, so you might have to practice very slowly. You might have to break the chunks even smaller, but whatever you have to do to get it so you can play hands together. All right, next step, let's see if we can play the whole left hand part with tapping. So. Boom. Once you got that part down, Next step is putting our right hand on the keyboard. But again, we're not going to play these full chord things. We're going to play one note, just the note E, over and over. And we can see, okay, can I play the entire left hand with just playing one note? Again, remember this is very slow. And again, you're going to work through the same chunks. By now you'll probably know the chunks, so I won't go super in depth into it. But like the first chunk would be, practice that over and over. Next chunk, that chunk, and then practice those 4 chunks separately over and over, and then we're going to do 2 chunks together again. So it's going to be, right? And then our next 2 chunks are, and you do it as slow as it takes to get it right. And then remember the last 2 chunks are, all right. One thing I want to say too, I know this is taking you a very long time, but as you do more and more songs hands together, you'll be able to skip some of the steps. You'll no longer have to do the tap on your leg step, stuff like that. But for now, you want to just get it right, because the first time is always the hardest. All right. So next step, now that we have a single note, we want to play that whole left hand pattern just with a single note. So once you get that down, we're going to start playing the full chords, okay? This is where it's going to get really challenging, and we're going to add a couple other strategies like the add note strategy. So right now we're just going to do chords, just holding out chords and playing the melody. So here's the next step. It's going to sound like this. All right, and again with that, if you have to break it into smaller chunks, just 2 chords at a time, rep it over and over. You know, I'm not going to go super in depth into that because you guys have seen me do it so many times before with all these other strategies. If you have to chunk it down smaller, chunk it down smaller. All right, so once you have that down, now becomes the final step where we do the actual right hand pattern with the left hand. This is going to be a very challenging step. This is going to be a big jump, so we're going to use the added note method. So basically, here's how it works. You go like, you find, basically, I'll just start doing it. So you go, right, just the first 2 notes for the left hand. So practice that over and over. And now we're going to add 1 more note. So practice that 4 times. Once you've done that 4 times, we're going to add the next note in the left hand. So that 4 times. And then we're going to add the last note. So boom. Now, so basically the added note measure or strategy is breaking up these chunks into super small single note chunks that we're adding basically. So that's the first chunk. Remember the next chunk is, so it's, so let's do the added note strategy. So the first note is, and then the next note is this. So all we're going to practice is alternating. First alternate. And then we're going to practice holding this last note. So it's going to sound like this. All right, next up is just these 3 notes. So it's going to be, and it goes with this. So let's just do 2 notes at a time. So 1, 2, practice that 4 times. Then go those 3 notes 4 times. So now we have this chunk. So it's so you can practice that with the full right hand. All right, and the last chunk is and then actually we could add beat 1 back to that. So it's going to be so let's practice that using the added note strategy. So it's going to be right. Practice that 4 times and then practice 4 times. Once you got that down, practice. Practice that 4 times. Boom, now we have all the chunks learned. Now we're going to basically try to play the whole thing, and the parts we get stuck at, those are the parts that we have to drill in more. So let's try it slow. So now that'll probably be a tricky part when you do, and you have to switch from the 2 to the 3. So let's practice it slowly. 2 and 1 and 4 and 1. All right, did you catch that? So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So when this hits, you hit the B at the same time, and then you switch here. So it goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. All right, so once you got that part, let's keep adding more of the section. So it's going to sound like this. And then, so that part's a little tricky. So it's, all right, so it's going to be start with these 2. And then immediately back down to that E. So, all right, so then the next step is going to be, let's see. So once you hit this A, then you're going to shift down from here to here. So it's going to be, so that's going to be the hard part is, and then down to the A. So, you're going to have to practice this probably slowly a lot of times. And then, so this part, we never practiced, I don't think, going back up to the B. So it's going to be, and then up, up. All right, I know this is complicated. Trust me, getting hands together for a piece like this is tricky to get. So just so you have an example, I'm going to do the full song slowly. Up, down to the E with the pointer finger, and down to A with the pinky. Up, and then it just repeats. If you can get this hands together solidly, there's a lot of pieces from now on that are going to be much, much easier to get hands together, because this is a tricky one. It has a very syncopated left hand. The right hand is using a lot of chords, but it's not just straight chords. You have to alternate. So if you can get this, you'll be able to get a lot of other songs. One thing I just want to say again is, look, this is like a long process. It's a process. It's long, but it's solid. If you do the steps, you will get there. It might not be in one day. You might have to do these steps over the course of a week, right? You might have to come back to this video multiple times and keep practicing it. But in the long run, if that's what it takes to learn the song, that's what it takes to learn the song. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. If you want more strategies like that, like the added note, like playing in chords, stuff like that, I have a bunch of them in my free course, Becoming Piano Superhuman. I'll put the link to that right down below. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Peace out and happy practicing.